ultimate driving machine. That is a slogan used by BMW, but does it ring true for cars that were made between the 90s and the noughties? Now, you'd be forgiven for thinking that it's spring, but it's not. It's actually autumn, and I am in the latest addition to the Junction garage. It is, of course, the BMW E46 330Ci convertible with an automatic gearbox. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. This is the wrong version. I should have gone for a coupe with a manual. Well, you're right, I should have done, because that is the better car. But I've already got a BMW with a manual gearbox, the Z4M with the S54 engine. And I thought, let's go for something that I can daily more easily, that the whole family can drive, and that is going to be more painless to live with on a day in, day out basis. So I thought, well, let's just go for the auto and see what this is all about. Now, was this car an expensive mistake, or is it an absolute gem? Well, that's what we're going to try and work out in this episode. Now, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, then I would strongly recommend that you do, so that you can follow me on the journey with this car to make it from what is a standard 330Ci into something maybe a little bit more special. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. So what's it like to drive then? Well, it is a BMW with a 6-cylinder engine, a straight 6, rear-wheel drive. I don't know what else to say, really. Analog is the only way to go, isn't it? Let's face it. Now, the engine on these cars is really something. This is the BMW M54 straight 6 3-litre with around 230 brake horsepower. It's good for 0 to 60 in around 6 seconds, something like that, and 155 mile/hour top speed, which is limited artificially. The thing is, though, it's not those performance figures that count for so much. It's the way the power is delivered. Incredibly linear, very, very smooth. And with this automatic gearbox, which you're going to tell me is the wrong gearbox, the power delivery is incredibly smooth. In fact, the gear changes are pretty much imperceptible most of the time. If you're just pootling around, you'd think you're in a CVT. That's how good it is. It's absolutely sensational. It's a really, really good combination. And for anybody that says, oh, you want to get the manual, yeah, you're right. If you want a very, very spirited driving car, the manual is perfect. But you know something? For dailying about, this automatic gearbox with 5 speeds is absolutely brilliant. The earlier cars had the Getrag gearbox. This has the ZF 5-speed. And I've got to say, it's brilliant. Nothing that I can say to criticize this auto gearbox at all. So these cars were launched originally as a saloon back in 1998, and they were followed by various different models of this car. So you can get these in an estate, you can get these as coupes, you can get these even as a small hatchback, the TI, or the compact as it's known. You can get them at the convertible that I've got here. There was a choice of 4 and 6-cylinder engines, diesels, petrols, the whole lot, ranging from just over 100 brake horsepower for the 316, all the way up to about 360 brake horsepower for the M3 CSL, the one that everybody wants. But there was also, I don't know if you knew this, but there were 10 V8 versions of this car. They were the GTR with a 4-litre V8. They are uber rare. And there's only, like I say, 10 of them around. So if you really want to get one of those, you need deep pockets and you need to cast that net far and wide to be able to find one. Now, of course, if you want a super efficient one, then the diesel is the way to go. No question about that. But of course, the diesels themselves, being quite old now, you're gonna get all sorts of issues with those, I would have thought, and there's probably not that many left on the road even. Yes, of course, they were capable of very high mileages, but they were all used for high mileages too. Then, of course, there's a question of ULEZ compliance and emissions controls, and older diesels, unfortunately, have been hammered by the government. The car underwent a facelift back in 2002, and we are going to do a complete buyer's guide on this car, so you might want to watch out for that one when it comes out, and make sure, if you haven't, to subscribe to the channel so that you can actually be the first to find out as soon as that video comes out. So when you first jump into one of these cars, what's your first impression? The quality of all the fit and finish, the materials, the leather, everything is really, really good. And you could well imagine this car back in the 1990s and noughties feeling quite special. In fact, it still feels quite special even today. Every single switch, button, lever, everything in this car feels as if it's really been cast out of something very, very solid. You get a real sense of quality. And this was a period when BMW made really nice interiors. They were some of the best around. And even today, you jump into one of these and it still feels reasonably modern. It doesn't feel that old. Yes, of course, there's a bit more glass to be able to look out of, but the actual quality, the plastics, the materials that have been used are actually all very good. There's a little bit of spray-on black stuff that can wear off. The seats themselves are actually quite good. They're well bolstered, they're comfortable, they are heated, electrically adjustable, and you get electric headrests in a 3 Series BMW. There's enough space in here for 4 adults to sit quite comfortably. It is quite a spacious car inside. Now, of course, it doesn't have all the mod cons, but it's got enough airbags and things to keep you reasonably safe. Of course, it's never going to be able to compete in terms of safety with a modern car, but that's not really what this is it? It's 20 years old at the end of the day. When you look at the headlining one of these cars, you'd think you're actually sitting inside a coupe. They are really, really nicely put together. So buying a coupe is great if you can get one, but do not discount this, the convertible version of the E46. Then, of course, there's the driving position, which is almost spot on, to be brutally honest. Whether you drive a manual or an automatic, you are going to be extremely comfortable as a driver. There's plenty of adjustment in the seats, the steering, the pedal box is great too. You sit inside here and all the controls, the ergonomics, they're all pretty much perfect. With the dashboard and center console that sort of leans towards you, it really is a nice place to sit. The steering itself, it's not the lightest of steering wheels, but it's not the heaviest either. I would say it's somewhere in the middle. There is no play at all in the steering on this car. It feels very, very positive, very direct. There's no tram lining. The car steers and handles very, very true. Doesn't get pulled in by cambers on the road or anything like that. It really is a very, very solid feeling drive. It rides and glides over bumps really, really well. For a 20-year-old car that should really be on tied suspension, no, doesn't feed it at all. And that's one of the things that really drew me to this particular car. So how much did I pay for this car then? Well, this is where it gets very, very interesting. Now, I didn't want to travel up and down the country, and I set my net and cast it only 45 miles away from where I live. I didn't want to travel more than an hour to go and pick up the best car that I could find within that area for a reasonable price. Now, I looked at several 330Ci's. I looked at both coupes and convertibles. I looked at facelift and pre-facelift cars as well. I looked at manuals and autos, but it had to be a 330, not a 325. Nothing else would do. Now, of course, I could have got one of these for maybe 1,500, 2,000, 2,500, 3,000, 4,000, and I looked at those cars, and trust me, they were all pretty ropey. Now, of course, with it being the back end of summer, cars were still commanding pretty decent money. If I'd waited 2 or 3 months, I might have got 500, a grand off, having sold the Porsche Boxster. I wanted something that I could just daily without having any issues at all. And so one with an automatic gearbox really did fit my sort of requirements. And the best cars I could find all needed at least 1,500 to 2,000 spending on them to get them to a reasonable standard, a standard that I would be happy with. Now, when I tell you that I paid 5 grand for this car, you are going to fall off your chair, because when you think about it, a 20-year-old 3 Series BMW that's prone to rusting and has a few issues isn't ever going to be worth that kind of money, and I agree with you. But this car has an amazing service history. That's point number 1. Number 2, it has all the documented evidence, which is very important. Number 3, it actually has had quite a lot of the preventative maintenance that you would want to see done on these cars already completed. Things like no oil leaks. Another thing which is really important on these, of course, is the cooling system, which anybody who knows these cars will tell you will need a refresh. It will need a new coolant expansion tank, hoses, and so on, and all of that has been done on this car within the last 12 months. I didn't need to go through the hassle of having to spend 1,000, 1,500, maybe even more trying to get some of those things rectified. These M54 engines can go on for a long, long time, provided they've had good oil changes. I think if you can find one like this one that's got lots and lots of servicing, loads of stamps, loads of invoices as well to back it up, then you're onto a winner. Naturally aspirated engines have been around for well over 100 years, and BMW are absolutely brilliant when it comes to 6-cylinder engines. They know how to build a good straight 6. This car has one of the very best straight 6s that you can get. So if you find a good one that's got a good service history, you are going to be onto a complete winner. Now there is a little bit of bubbling on one of the wings, and there are 1 or 2 electrical gremlins that I am aware of, but that's okay. That's part and parcel of owning an old car. The roof itself is in really nice condition actually. It does need treating, of course, and I'm going to do a video on that. So does it drive like the ultimate driving machine then? I've got to say it does. Blooming heck, this thing is absolutely brilliant. Now if you're a fan of this channel, you will recognise some of these roads. This is a 50-mile-an-hour road, and this is where this car really does come alive. So 50 miles an hour, it's about as fast as you can go on this road, and it's full of little bends and twists like this one. My God, this car is absolutely brilliant. It really takes these corners in its stride, absolutely brilliantly. Perfect weight distribution, really good balance, and I have to say, that is sensational. Not quite as sharp as the Mazda MX-5, not quite as gyro-y as a Porsche Boxster that I've got some experience with as well. For a car like this, it is absolutely brilliant. In fact, I would say it handles better than probably something like the BMW 3 Series F30. This feels far more together when you drive it spiritedly. It has a real ability to shrink around you in a way that the F30 can't. Yeah, I do wish it had the manual gearbox, I'm not gonna lie, but this automatic gearbox does the job. And I think for the kind of drives that I've got planned for it and the use that I've got planned for it as a daily, I think the auto gearbox will be fine. Please keep telling me that. I would say that this is a mini GT car in many respects. It has the ability with this automatic gearbox to crush continents. It really does. You could drive this car for hours at a time and not actually feel tired. Very well made. Not a squeak or a rattle in sight anywhere. Wonderfully thickly padded seats that are very comfortable, with the push-out bolsters that you get on BMW. That's a real BMW thing. And you get things like a first aid kit under the passenger seat. The boot itself is a good size. You can actually get in here easily some luggage for a good weekend away. The only thing that does detract a little bit on this car though is the weight. It weighs around 1.7 tons, which is a lot for a car that's this old. And that's almost as much as Drew's M2 G87. So it gives you an idea of how this car feels when you drive it. But you know something, when you are driving around with it, other than for braking, where it does feel a little bit heavy, it actually feels really good. The suspension is absolutely brilliant on these cars. Is this car a gem or a mistake? Well, I know I paid a little bit more than maybe I should have done, but to be honest, I don't think this car is a mistake at all. I think this car is an absolute gem. A little gem that's hiding underneath this facade that looks like an E46, because yes, it looks like an old car. It was designed in the crisp angle era, but it has fantastic lines. And as good as the lines on this car look, well, I've got to say, it drives equally as well. It's not a car that's going to disappoint you at all. In fact, I absolutely love it. Now, I was only planning on keeping this car for a year or two. I can see myself keeping this car for a lot longer. It really is that good. And there are a few things that I need to do to this car, and this is where I need your help. Now, it does have the standard MV2 wheels on here, the 18 inches, which are fine, and they're in good condition and all the rest of it. But I do need to get some new rear tyres. Now, this car's got some very old Yokohamas on the back, and they do need replacing. But what I am thinking of doing is changing the wheels like I did on my Mazda MX-5. I don't know what I'm going to go for just yet, so I need some help from you guys. I need to know what might look really good, what offsets I should go for, what size of wheels, width and everything else. So I want a full wheel specification for this. If I can get that from you guys, I'd be really grateful, because that will help me no end in understanding what I can do to make this car a little bit more special. Ideally, if I can get flat faces on again, that would be brilliant, and I am on the lookout for those. So if you can give me any help with that, I'd be really grateful. This era of BMW, whether it's an E39 or an E46 or any of those cars from this era, I think they are probably the best BMWs that were ever made. Since then, everything has just gone a little bit downhill, maybe? But this car, I think, has all the credentials to make it into a proper, bona fide classic. If you pick up either one of these, or the 330Ci Clubsport, because there was a Clubsport variant of this car too, then you are going to be buying one of the best BMWs from this era. And the 3 Series moniker on the back tells you that this was a car for yuppies. This was a car for the young and upwardly mobile. It always has been, ever since the 3 Series was first launched. And I think more so probably with the E30, but this is exceptional. And if you're thinking of buying one of these and you can't get into an M3 anymore, pick up a 330Ci. Whether it's a coupe or a convertible, whichever gearbox you go for, whichever tickles your fancy, you are going to be buying one of the best 3 Series BMWs that was ever made. Take it from me, don't take it from me. Try it yourself. You will see what I'm raving on about, but only once you've driven one of these cars. So, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, you really ought to, because we're going to be doing things to this car to try and make it that little bit better. And I'm going to need your help along the way, because whilst I know quite a lot of stuff about BMWs, I'm no expert. Certainly not on the E46. Now, if you want to see me driving around inside my Z4M Coupe, which has a manual gearbox and the S54 engine, then click on the tiles that appear in front of you now. Otherwise, thank you very much indeed for watching. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. And I'm going to catch you on the next one when we start fettling with this car. Thanks for watching.